Hi, I'm Nicole Marie Finch, and you're here watching my health and mindset blog. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome back if you've been here before, or welcome if this is your first time tuning in. Today, I will be talking about going with your gut, because last week was Thanksgiving. A lot of us were not very kind to our guts with all the processed food sometimes, heavy food, overloading our stomach and stretching it out and having our gut have lots of work to do to digest everything. It's okay. We're gonna realign it and get ready for the next holiday that we do all that. So this is especially a good time of the year to focus on a healthy gut, because a healthy gut boosts your immune system, and this is the time of year when a lot of us can catch a lot of colds and flu and all that stuff. It also helps to promote your mental clarity, helps you sleep better, helps with other kinds of health issues and weight gain, all that stuff, which can be especially tough this time of the year. And we tend to be more stressed out this time of the year. I think, in general, we just live with this sort of baseline stress level, more elevated than it should be, which I talked about a bit last week. And when we're living in this stressed out state, our body has a hard time digesting, because basically when you're in the stressed out state, it's the same sort of feeling where the flight or fight mode. We're just all constantly living in this flight or fight mode, which is basically when you're, let's say being chased by a bear, and the last thing that your body's worried about is digesting lunch. It's worried about putting all of its energy, all the blood flow, all that stuff into either fighting that bear or taking flight away from it. And that's how a lot of us are living, even if you're not, being chased by a bear, but maybe there's traffic and there's holidays, which can be stressful. There's, at work, especially if the end of the year is a big time for stuff that's happening, or maybe you're in school and final exams, whatever it is, it can be an extra stressful time of the year for many people. And so that's causing our gut to have a hard time digesting. And then we're eating all this food and overloading it. And it's just one thing after another. No wonder why a lot of us tend to get sick this time of the year, because our immune system is just having a hard time, because our gut's having a hard time, everything's having a hard time. So what I'm going to talk about today are some ways that you can improve the health of your gut. And it's actually, in my view of it, it's both mental and physical, because it's all connected. And I mentioned this last week about the power of gratitude, for instance, and how that impacts the body versus feeling like stress or anger or worry. And how when you feel grateful, your body's all working together. But when you feel stress or anger or fear or whatever that might be, it's all erratic and your body's not functioning properly, and that's setting off a bad chain of reactions that your gut's then going to have a hard time digesting and all that stuff. So I'm going to share some ways, both mentally and physically, that we can help to support the health of our gut, especially for this time of the year. So I hope that this is helpful to you. Some of these things you might have heard before. Hopefully I'll provide a little more context for you. Some of these things actually reference a lot of my prior videos, because a lot of it, like I said, we're connected. It's all there. I also would be curious to hear anything that you've done as well to promote the health of your gut, which is, we're learning, more and more important for our overall health and well-being. So let's get to it, shall we? So how do we maintain a healthy gut? Okay, so first I'm going to start with kind of the mental side of things, because again, if you are stressed out, your body's going to have a hard time digesting, because it's not going to be getting the flow of blood, the energy from your body, all that stuff to go towards the process of digesting. So things are going to build up. We're going to have other issues, and it's going to, kind of compound. So first step I say is we really want to focus on getting out of that stressed state as much as possible and finding more of that state of peace, that way our body can work in more alignment. So, how do we do that? First of all, we have to remember that happiness is a full-time job. You have to work on this all the time. Life is going to be chaos, right? And that's not always going to change. So we have to focus on it for ourselves and remember that stress is a perception. It can feel very real, and it can feel very stressful and uncomfortable. But we have to remember that there's always a lesson that can be learned. There's always going to be something that we can be grateful for. And this is going to sound like, oh yes, we all just gotta just whatever. No, that's not what I'm saying. But a lot of times someone cuts you off in traffic. You can be totally stressed out about that and let that ruin your day. Or you can say, I'm grateful that they're going to get to where they need to be on time. They must be in a huge rush. Maybe say it a little bit less sarcasm. But really we have to remember that it's our choice to feel stressed. It's our choice. people are going to do things that we don't expect or don't want them to do. Life is going to happen as we don't want it to happen, but we have a decision. And if you watch last week's video on gratitude, I provide some ways that you can use gratitude to combat stress on the daily. And it takes some practice. It takes a bit of a shift there, because our natural instinct is we want to feel justified. But guess what? Even if you feel justified in your feeling of stress or anger or whatever it might be, your body is still being physically impacted by that. So it's just not worth it. So easier said than done. Totally will admit it's easier said than done. But you can start to make the shift by simply looking at the world in a different view and start to try to worry about you versus trying to fix the world. And I also have done a blog video on that, the science of following your heart, as well as is your tolerance for stress too high. You can go back and check those out for more about that. I won't get into too much more here, but just something that I wanted to really put out there. I do think it's important. I know it can be a sensitive topic, and I know some of you might be a little bit defensive right now. I totally get it, okay? I know it's not always easy, but you can start taking those steps. Another way that you can help to decrease your stress is through the practice of meditation. Now, meditation is simply just a fancy word for quiet time, a little time out. And really what you want to do is just be relaxed, physically relaxed, close your eyes, quiet, or play some nice, comforting music in the background, and just let your mind go. You can focus on your breathing, focus on getting some good breathing in. I did a vlog video on that a few weeks ago as well. Check that out, the good benefits of breathing. But what you really want to do is just be present and let your mind go. Try not to follow down the rabbit hole, okay? Don't, go, you want to objectively see your thoughts, like it's just kind of flying by, and just kind of let things move through. A lot of times when we go to bed at night, you feel like your head hits a pillow and all of a sudden like all these things come up. It's probably the first time you've had a moment of quiet all day long, right? So you start your day off with some meditation, or even end it. Give your brain that time to download all the things it wants to say. Then you're going to find you're going to have more peace in starting your day, because you kind of had that clarity, you have made that purpose or even before bed. So take some of that time to just be present. And then if it works for you, to journal afterwards. Because I have actually learned a lot about myself, and actually just learned a lot of this just knowledge from journaling, which sounds weird, but just the kind of what maybe came up while I was meditating, I started just kind of free writing, not editing, and things would just kind of come out that I hadn't even really considered before. And so it can be a really, really helpful way to help just get it all out there, so it's not all jumbled up in here. And then you're going to be more peace up here and a little bit less stressed, a little bit harder to create that fight or flight stressed out mode, because you've had that time to let it out. Visualizing success while falling asleep is really good. It really helps, because what you are sleeping and thinking about, last thing you think about before you go to bed is what your mind's going to marinate on all night long. So visualize that success, visualize all those good things. You'll find that you'll sleep better and wake up with more refresh, and your mind will have a better sense about what it needs to do. Things will flow more, you'll stress out less. Okay, easy enough, right? So, and keep practicing your gratitudes, by the way, from last week. That's a huge, huge way to combat stress. So that's the mental side of it. Piece of cake, okay? So now the physical side. So one of the really good things to do is exercise. Moving around is a really good way to get things moving and grooving and working, especially after you eat. Getting up, as I mentioned a couple weeks ago, get up, stand up, and walk around is really, after you eat, it helps the digestion process, and it helps the uptake of fatty acids into your muscles versus staying in your bloodstream. So really, really great. And one thing I'll say about exercise is actually it's really good for your gut if you do kind of bursts of things and kind of switch it up and change it up versus just like running on the treadmill constant. It's better to kind of, get things all loosey-goosey and moving around. So that's what I'll say about exercise. The other thing I'll say too is, we know that our stomach's the size of our fist, and we're often eating portions much bigger than that. So between these holidays, maybe try to stick to that. What also can be really helpful is giving yourself some time to fast. Helps to let everything, let your gut catch up. It's got a lot of work to do. It's got to catch up, right? So it helps with that. Helps to kind of let everything settle down and your stomach stretch back to its normal size. It's all stretched out. So this can be really good to let the good bacteria flourish. The bad bacteria will kind of can't handle that. It wants more of the sugar. And so basically, if you just fast, it can really help to reset and clear the smoke. Now, the best time I've found to fast is while you're sleeping, because then you don't have to worry, right? Because you're already sleeping. I'm not very good with fasting, I will admit it, but if you can fast like a 24-hour period, like once a month or so, apparently that's really good for you. I struggle with that, although I do try sometimes. But I have learned that if you fast for at least 12 hours between dinner and breakfast, so part of that time you're sleeping, it can really help because your digestion, a lot of it happens at night, and it needs about 12 hours to complete the full process. So if you can give it even a little bit more, like 18 if you can, eat an early dinner and a later breakfast. If you can really try to, maybe not all the time, maybe just try to aim for 12 hours and see how you can go beyond that. It can maybe a huge help to your gut health and being able to reduce some of that bloating and discomfort and those health issues. Another thing I'll mention too is gluten and dairy. I gotta mention these. Listen, okay? So talking about gut, a lot of people out there have these insensitivities to gluten and dairy. They don't even necessarily realize that they have. They're not allergic, but it can cause, some trouble down there. And so maybe for a week, just try to avoid gluten and dairy just for a week. You can do it for a week and see how it feels for you. See how your body reacts. And then you can learn from that and know what to do. And maybe you choose you splurge on the holidays, but maybe the rest of the time, maybe you decide I'm going to try to limit it, which is kind of where I ended up personally myself. I try to avoid gluten and dairy for the most part. I don't go crazy about it, but I just know, I gotta be a little more attentive to that and more careful about that. And I know if I'm not, I know how I'll feel, and then I can, I'll be prepared mentally for that. The other thing that's actually kind of cool is food diversity is actually really good for your gut. This is an interesting one because I think a lot of us get into routines, want to eat some similar stuff, but mixing it up and eating all different kinds of things is actually really good for your gut, because not so much about is food good or bad. It's more about if your body can use the food that you're eating. And so if you are having a diversity of food, there's a better chance that you're going to be eating food that your gut can actually use and turn into nutritional value and health for your body. At some point, maybe in the future, they'll be able to test for this and help to determine what kinds of things are good for you physically, because we're all so different. But as of now, apparently there's not really a strong way to test that. So just eat lots of different kinds of foods, variety, and ideally things that are local and seasonal. So we tend to eat things that are not in season here in America. Just, everything's everywhere. You can get them all over the place. It's in season somewhere. But really, if we can focus on local and seasonal foods, that also really helps, because then our internal ecology, environment is more in line with the external environment. So our immune system is going to be more in line. We're going to have less chance of finding some kind of, virus or bacteria or something that gives us a cold or the flu, because we're more in alignment with the ecology around us, if that makes sense. So local and seasonal, aside from, it's more likely to not have as much, crap and stuff in it and all that, whatever, so that's a really great way to support your gut and your immune system. And some other ways that I like to talk about too, that are not necessarily with food, but other things you can do, as I mentioned, is why is everyone drinking their food? The blog video I did a few weeks ago about having protein shakes and some benefits of that. One of the benefits I had mentioned is that it's kind of pre-digested, if you will, so it's easier on your gut. So it gives it a little bit of break while trying to process everything else out. So maybe incorporate that into one of the meals of your day if that's something that works for you. I also, at this time of the year especially, enjoy drinking a detox tea. I particularly like the Arbonne brand. Lots of different brands out there, and it's helpful because it promotes a healthy gut and liver, and so it helps to detox and, again, immune system and all that good stuff. And I also have a probiotic every morning. I use it's Arbonne Digestion Plus is what I prefer. But again, there's other things out there. I like this one because it's prebiotic and probiotic, which are digestive enzymes. So it's really helpful to get through the stomach acids and then into the gut, help promote good bacteria. It's especially great during this holiday season to give, a little extra, kind of like bringing it back up to my gut so it can help handle everything. So those are some tips. I think the biggest tip of all is listen to your body, because a lot of us, we are not doing a very good job of that. Because food is getting mental in a lot of ways, because when you have good food, it's hitting those reward centers of your brain, and so you want more of it because you want to keep feeling that feeling. But it's a little bit of a diminishing return. So the more you have, the less you're going to feel that reward. And so you keep trying to eat more and more and more, trying to get that feeling that's never going to be like that first bite. So, it's kind of hard sometimes to listen to your body. Your bodies might be full, but your mind's like, no, I want that reward again. So we do have to have some practice here in listening to our body, what's uncomfortable, what's not uncomfortable, and then honoring that and using that. Because I think we kind of tuned it out in a lot of ways over all the things that are going on. But if we can reconnect with that, I think that's kind of like the golden rule of how to keep a healthy gut, how to be healthy, all that good stuff. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, go with your gut. I know life is chaos. Let's have fun with it.